Her flight took off at 7:42 a.m. At 7:43, I deleted the apology draft I spent half the night writing. She never saw it. She'd left it on the fridge like a passive-aggressive love note. Be good while I'm gone. Think hard about what you've done. I'll be thinking too. Signed with a heart. No name. Just the heart. I spent the first hour folding the towel she didn't fold, then refolding it, then sitting on the floor staring at it. You ever stare at a towel until it becomes a metaphor for your marriage? I don't recommend it. She said it was a girl's trip to decompress. I believed her for exactly 5 hours. Then I checked the shared credit card account. She hadn't bought sunscreen, or luggage, or a book. She'd booked a single ticket, not a group deal. The hotel? Not one of those yoga retreat lodges she always drooled over on Pinterest. No, this one had a rooftop pool and romantic views for two in its booking description. I called Mallory, one of her old college friends, just to check. She answered sounding like she hadn't slept. I didn't even know she was traveling, she mumbled. I thought you two were doing better? Better? We hadn't made eye contact in 4 weeks unless I was handing her a charger. She kept telling me I was emotionally flat. I told her she never listened long enough to notice what I actually felt. Then she booked a flight to reflect and told me to reflect on my flaws. At 2 p.m., I found her old iPad in the laundry room drawer. She'd forgotten it was linked to her iCloud. Notifications were still coming in. I tapped one by accident. It opened her iMessages. There was a text from a name I didn't recognize. Don't worry. He won't question anything. He never does. And another. This weekend will be perfect. Just us. No guilt. I scrolled. The more I read, the more I realized I was the villain in someone else's story. A harmless, passive husband painted as the prison guard in her dramatic escape fantasy. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. I felt something else. Freedom. The kind that comes quietly, like air rushing into a room where the window's finally been cracked open. So while she was reflecting in a hotel with someone who apparently made her feel alive again, I began a little reflection of my own. And I wasn't planning on being here when she returned. The first real shift happened at 3:17 a.m. I couldn't sleep. My chest felt like it had a fist closed around it, and the ceiling fan's rhythm was making me nauseous. So I got up and opened the closet. Not mine. Hers. I counted the hangers. Half of them were empty, and not because she packed light. I remembered what she wore the night we met. I saw the green blouse she wore to my sister's wedding. But her new silk dresses? Gone. That red one with the open back she swore was too much for dinner. Gone. She didn't pack for a girl's trip. She packed for someone else's arms. I sat on the floor in the closet for almost an hour, rereading the texts from her iPad. I wish I could say I cried. I didn't. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because I had already done all my grieving over the last year. Quiet grieving. The kind you do while washing dishes or hearing your spouse laugh at texts they won't explain. By sunrise, I wasn't angry. I was organized, calm in a way that felt strange, like my body had decided to act while my mind was still catching up. I opened our joint banking app. She hadn't touched the savings, but she'd created a hidden vacation folder 3 weeks earlier and had quietly siphoned off $2,400 into it. I called the bank, froze it. Then I called a moving company. Not to move her out, to move me out. At 9:15 a.m., I boxed up my half of the house. Not out of spite. Not to make a scene. I left her the furniture, the dog, even the spare key. What I took with me were the essentials, the documents, the laptop, the photos that still made me feel something real. But I didn't leave a note. No dramatic text. No voicemail. I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance. By the time her flight was landing, I was halfway to a new apartment I signed for in cash under my own name. One she didn't know existed. No more joint anything. I transferred my paycheck. I changed my emergency contact. I redirected my mail. And then I did something she never expected. I posted 3 photos to my social media. Just me, smiling, coffee in hand, in a different apartment. With no explanation. Just a caption. Sometimes silence is the loudest decision you can make. Within 10 minutes, I got a text from her. Then 2. Then 11. The first one said, "Where are you?" The next said, "Is this a joke?" And the last one, the one that finally made me feel something again, just said, "You were supposed to be here." Exactly. But I wasn't. I didn't answer her texts. Not the first 12. Not the ones that came in during dinner, or or the voice note that was just 43 seconds of silence and shaking breath. I turned off notifications, finished unpacking, and made soup. I wanted silence, and I had earned it. She just didn't realize silence could be a boundary, not a punishment. The next morning, I got a call from a number I hadn't seen in years. Carson. Her brother. "Hey man," he started, real casual, like we were catching up over coffee and not standing in the fallout of my collapsed marriage. "Ren's at mom's. She's not doing well." She said, "You vanished?" Vanished. What a fascinating word choice. As if I disappeared on a whim, mid-marriage, like a magician in a breakup act. Like I hadn't spent the last year becoming invisible to her. "She's been crying for 2 days, he added. "Says you left her stranded." I almost laughed. But instead, I just said, "Did she also tell you about the text from Everett?" Silence. Then Carson cleared his throat. "Wait. Everett? Who's Everett?" There it was. Her lie hadn't extended to him yet. I felt a weird flicker of pity, not for her, but for how fast she was about to lose the only person still in her corner. I didn't say much, just that she didn't go on a girl's trip. That the AirTag I gave her, the one she accidentally left in her luggage, had pinged outside a hotel in Reno. That Everett's name had shown up in her iPad with one too many "I can't wait to see you" texts. Carson swore under his breath. He said, "Jesus," and then hung up without another word. I don't know what he did after that. I didn't care. Later that night, I got a long email from Ren. Subject line, "Please don't do this." She called me dramatic. Said this could have been fixed if I had just waited for her to come home. Claimed Everett was an old friend, and that I misread the messages. Said her mental health had been suffering, and that she needed a little bit of excitement to feel alive again, but it didn't mean anything. She ended with, "You're throwing away everything over a misunderstanding." But it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the clearest she'd ever been. She'd made her decision the second she bought that one-way ticket and left me with a list of flaws to reflect on like I was her project. And now she was trying to spin the story, to crawl back before people realized the truth. But it was too late. I'd already started telling the truth. And this time, I had everything to back it up. The thing about liars is they don't stop when they're caught. They double down. 3 days after I disappeared from our home and posted that quiet caption, the whispering started. My cousin sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post Ren had written. It was a long, poetic monologue about the pain of being married to someone who never truly saw you. She didn't name me, but everyone knew. The comments were full of sympathy. People calling her brave, saying she was healing. One woman even asked if she'd consider starting a blog about emotional resilience. I just stared at the screen, shaking. Not even mad, just stunned at how fast someone could rewrite a story when they had no intention of owning any part of it. I was apparently the villain in this version. The cold, emotionally unavailable man who drove his beautiful wife into someone else's arms. But she overplayed her hand. Because someone else saw the post. Someone who had receipts. Her old co-worker, Janessa, a woman Ren used to roll her eyes at when she thought I wasn't listening, sent me a private message. One sentence. "If you want the full story, I have it." I didn't reply right away. I was still trying to decide if I even wanted to open another door. But curiosity has a nasty little voice that doesn't shut up. So I wrote back, and what she sent next made my jaw lock. Screenshots. Dozens. Turns out Ren hadn't just been planning a getaway. She'd been planning an exit. For months. She'd been telling people at work that I was too soft, too boring, and would never see it coming. She told them she'd met someone more in tune with her needs. Everett. A client. Married. 2 kids. She said it with pride. Like cheating was an evolution. Like I was the first draft, and he was the polished copy. Janessa told me she'd tried to warn Ren. Told her not to mess with a married man. Told her to be honest. But Ren laughed it off. Called me spineless. Said I'd never leave her no matter what she did. I guess I changed the ending. Janessa didn't post anything publicly, but she sent the same screenshots to Carson. And then to Ren's aunt, who had been commenting hearts under all her healing journey posts. And that's when the silence began. No more likes. No more "you go, girl." Her Facebook went dark. She made her Instagram private. People were deleting their comments. Ren sent one last message. "You've humiliated me." I didn't respond. Because for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't the one humiliated. It started with a knock. Not a dramatic bang, not screaming, just a soft, uncertain knock on the door of my new apartment. I didn't answer. She waited. I watched her through the peephole, her hair pulled back like it always is when she's nervous. She wasn't crying. Not yet. But I could see her eyes darting down the hallway, probably praying none of the neighbors would open their doors. Ren hated embarrassment. The idea that people might see her unraveled. After a minute, she slid something under the door. I didn't pick it up until I heard the elevator ding and fade. It wasn't a letter. It wasn't even an apology. It was a printed photo of us from 4 years ago, our anniversary at that little overpriced steakhouse she picked just for the Instagram wall. On the back, she'd scribbled, "We were good once. Can we talk?" It didn't say, "I'm sorry." It didn't say, "I hurt you." It said, "We," as if I had broken this with her. The next day, the text started again. Long paragraphs. Emotional guilt bombs. She wrote that she was lost, that Everett had meant nothing, that she didn't realize how much she had until she saw it walk away. She said she was scared, that she wanted to go to therapy together and rebuild from ground zero. But I wasn't at ground zero anymore. I'd moved on, not with someone else. I was still broken in a dozen places, but I was finally building a life that didn't depend on her mood swings and emotional withdrawal. And then she played her final card. She showed up to my work. I was in the middle of editing a report when the receptionist tapped my shoulder. "There's a woman here. She says she's your wife." My stomach sank. I walked to the lobby, and there she was, holding a bag of my favorite pastries like this was a normal Tuesday and not a full-on ambush. She smiled weakly and said, "Can we talk?" But everyone in the office was watching. I could feel their eyes on my back. I didn't make a scene. I just looked her in the eyes and said, loud enough for them to hear, "You lost that privilege when you replaced me in secret." She went pale. I walked away. Later, I found another message waiting for me. A voice note. I almost didn't listen, but I did. Her voice cracked in the middle. She said, "I know I ruined everything. I just thought you'd still be there. I didn't think you'd actually disappear." That was the part that got me. Not because it was touching, but because it was honest. She never thought I'd go. She thought I'd swallow it, like every other time. But this time, I left the table. Quietly. Completely. And now she was trying to fix what she had spent months smashing, with crumbs and blurry memories and the idea that guilt could somehow replace accountability. But I wasn't interested in repair. I was interested in peace. And it felt good to finally have it. I didn't expect to hear about her again through LinkedIn. It was a Tuesday morning. Boring, quiet, and safe, which is the best kind of morning when you've been emotionally detonated. I was sipping lukewarm coffee and mindlessly clicking through messages when I saw it. A post from someone in Ren's old industry network. The headline read, "Professional integrity still matters." I clicked it. It was vague, but clearly aimed at someone who had lied, manipulated, and caused problems inside a consulting project. I didn't think much of it until I saw a few comments referencing a W name and someone being blacklisted. Then the message came from one of her former clients, a woman named Dana who I barely remembered meeting once at a company holiday mixer. Her message just said, "So, I guess you were right to walk away." I blinked. Apparently, Everett, the married man Ren had been seeing, was also tied to a major project she'd been consulting on. The affair hadn't just been personal, it was professional misconduct. The client had found out. Dana said they'd terminated Ren's contract with immediate effect once they saw texts confirming she'd blurred professional and personal boundaries on company time. She hadn't just lost me. She'd lost her biggest account. And then, like dominoes, more of her world started tipping. A few days later, her gym membership was canceled, not because she couldn't pay, but because Everett's wife had found out and happened to be a part owner. I didn't even know that. Ren apparently didn't either. The irony was poetic. My friend Jamie texted me next. "Bro, Ren's Insta is a full meltdown now." I looked. Her page had gone from soft focus quotes about growth and healing to blackout posts. One just said, "The people closest to you can destroy you without touching you." Another said, "Starting over isn't a choice. It's a punishment." The captions weren't vague anymore. They were bitter, almost angry, like she expected the world to feel sorry for her, while avoiding every mirror that might show her what really happened, what she really did. But here's the thing. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. Because when someone crashes the life they built with their own hands, all you can do is step out of the way and let the debris fall. She wanted fire. She got ashes. And I was already planting something new in a place she never thought I'd escape to. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere far from her version of the truth. It was a Saturday. Overcast, quiet. I had just come back from the farmer's market with a bag of vegetables I didn't know how to cook. I was doing the kind of boring little things that made me feel human again. I hadn't checked my phone all morning. When I did, there were 47 notifications. At first, I thought something was wrong. Emergencies don't wait. But it wasn't that kind of alert. It was something far more bizarre. Ren had posted a video, a long one. 5 minutes. No filters. No music. Just her, sitting on the floor of her old apartment with mascara-streaked cheeks and a voice that didn't sound like the woman I married. It sounded like a stranger who'd finally run out of ways to spin the story. She started by saying she didn't expect forgiveness. That she wasn't doing this to win me back. Which, of course, meant that's exactly what she was doing. But what caught me completely off guard was that she named names. She said Everett's name out loud. Said she betrayed 2 families. Said she sabotaged her own career. She admitted to lying, hiding, manipulating, and said the worst part was that she genuinely believed I would stay, no matter what she did. Then came the part that hit different. She said, to the man I thought would always forgive me. I see now that wasn't love. That was fear. I mistook his patience for weakness. I mistook his silence for safety. That line burned. Because it was true. She'd always relied on the fact that I wouldn't fight, that I would let things slide, that I'd stay. I always stayed. Until I didn't. The video went viral in our circles. People who had taken her side started commenting cautiously. Some deleted their earlier sympathy. Some apologized to me, tagging me awkwardly in threads I wanted no part of. Others started reposting the video, calling it a raw moment of accountability. But I wasn't interested in her becoming a symbol of redemption. Because accountability isn't a performance. She didn't send the video to me directly. She just let it float in the digital ocean like a message in a bottle. But I wasn't the one who picked it up. Her mother did. Her mother called me the next day, crying, saying she hadn't known the full extent. That she was sorry. That she hoped Ren would be okay. That call wrecked me more than the video. Because Ren had caused a collapse that was now echoing through people who didn't deserve to be pulled into the fallout. And even still, I didn't reply. I didn't post a response. I didn't comment. I didn't text. Because even now, with the world watching her unravel and rebuild, I was still holding onto the one thing she never gave me. Privacy. A few weeks passed after the video. People stopped messaging. The drama faded. Even Ren went quiet. No more live posts. No more quotes about healing. Just digital silence. The kind I once begged her to fill when we were still married. And now, I appreciated the stillness more than she ever did. The last time I saw her was accidental. I was at a bookstore downtown, looking for a book I didn't need. She walked in. Alone. No makeup, no performance. Just Ren. The real version. She froze when she saw me, clutching her phone like it was some kind of shield. We didn't say anything for a while. Just stood there, like 2 people waiting for a train that had already passed. Eventually, she whispered, "You look lighter." I said, "I am." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I meant what I said, you know. In the video. I know. She nodded. Do you hate me? I took a long breath. No, but I don't miss you either. That was it. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't dramatize it. She just nodded again, turned, and walked out of the store. And that was the end. No big blow-up. No grand final speech. Just 2 people accepting what had already been true for a long time. We weren't partners anymore. We were just the memory of one. It's been 6 months now. I moved again, not to run, but to restart properly. I started writing. Actually writing. Not just journaling out pain, but telling stories. Real ones. Stories with truth in them. I joined a small support group. Not because I needed pity, but because sometimes it helps to hear someone else say, "Yeah, me too." And a few weeks ago, I went on my own trip. Not to escape. Not to punish. Just to be somewhere new. On my last day there, I sat on the edge of a pier and watched the sunrise. For the first time in years, I didn't feel stuck. I didn't feel not good enough. I didn't feel like a placeholder in someone else's life. I just felt me, and that was more than enough.